Hey now! Today I am going to try something experimental. I've never done it before. It's a chocolate sourdough. What I'm going to do is just sort of adjust my existing sourdough recipe, and so what that is I have 1,000 grams of flour. It's going to make 2 loaves. So I've got 75% unbleached all-purpose flour and 25% whole wheat flour. To that, I'm going to add, this is 90 grams of cocoa powder, which will be 9% based on the flour weight. And then I'm going to go with 75% hydration. So I've got 750 grams of filtered water. So I'm just going to add the water to my mixing bowl here. I decided that I'm going to use the cocoa in here for the autolyse, just because it's a significant amount of cocoa, and I'm going to be adding other things such as brown sugar and probably honey. I'm just still doing a little mulling over that when I add the salt a little bit later on. But for now, I think I'll put this in, and that'll just reduce the amount of ingredients I need to add later. Woo! Trying to get most of that cocoa out of there. Now I'm actually just going to wind up mixing this by hand, which is going to make my hands incredibly messy, but no big deal. So I'm going to mix for about 4 minutes, and we'll see what it looks like after that. So I've been mixing here for about 1 minute, and I find it's really quite stiff. I know some people that I've seen trying to do cocoa additions and whatnot online are talking about using a stiffer dough, but you know what? I'm not quite comfortable with that. So I'm actually going to add, I've got 50 grams more water here. So that's going to actually then make this into an 80% hydration based on the flour weight. So I will now mix this up for another 4 minutes and see what it looks like. Here we are after about 4 minutes. Yeah, it's definitely a different texture than my normal sourdough, so that cocoa powder is definitely making an impact. It does smell delicious and chocolatey already. I am going to be amping that up with chocolate chip additions later on that'll get mixed in, but for now this is all I want in the autolyse. I'm going to give that 2.5 or 3 hours, just kind of depending on how my leaven is going, and we will resume once the leaven is ready. Okay, so we've had a 3-hour autolyse, and my leaven is nice and risen and fluffy. So I'm going to add 200 grams of it into this. Almost there. A bit more here. Bang on. Okay, now I'm just going to move my scale and turn that off. I'm going to mix this in. So I'm wetting my hands with filtered water. Oh, very interesting. It's like super sticky. Kind of reminds me of, oh man, almost like a Play-Doh, really. Wow. Curious to see what it's like after this is thoroughly integrated. So I'm going to mix this for 4 minutes, and once this is done, we will see what she looks like. So that is 4 minutes right there, and it's pretty obvious to tell. It was super easy, way easier than normal to tell when that leaven was fully integrated, because there's absolutely none of that whitish cream colored leaven left. So the plan at this point is to leave it for 30 minutes, at which point I'll be adding the salt as well as some brown sugar and honey, which is super exciting, and yeah, we'll see that. Okay, after 30 minutes, our chocolate sourdough is looking like this. What I'm going to do now is add salt. This is 18 grams, so it's 1.8% salt. I'm going to add brown sugar, and this is 90 grams, which is, of course, 9%. And then I'm going to add some honey, and this is 35 grams, so 3.5% of that. Roughly. I'm sure I'll wind up leaving a little bit of it in the container and on the spoon, but we'll get in what we can. Now, I have never added sugar or honey to my sourdoughs. This is the first time. I have no idea how nasty this is going to be, but essentially now I'm going to give it a 4 to 5 minute mix. So I'm just going to smoosh it all in here. Start just doing some pinch and folds. Oh wow, the texture is already feeling quite a bit different. And that in the last 30 minutes since I mixed in the leaven, it's definitely a little bit more pliable, which is nice. Curious to see what all these fun little things I've just added in wind up doing to it. So I'll check in with you in a few minutes. Well, I wound up going almost 5 minutes mixing this. So it's all nice and mixed up. The funny thing with this is that it's stickier then, but a little stiffer than my normal dough. It seems a little counterintuitive. However, it's super awesome. I'm really excited to see what this winds up looking like. So I'm going to let it go for half an hour, and then we will do the first stretch and fold. Here we are, and yeah, there's some nice jiggle action happening there. So I'm going to do my first stretch and fold. This will be a good opportunity to see what the dough is handling like. So I'll just spray down my stainless table there with some filtered water. Coat my hands in a little water. Let's get this thing out. This sweet, beautiful thing. It smells so good. We just want to try to eat it right now. Okay, super interesting. All right, so stretch and fold. So stretch, fold it down. Stretch, fold, pat, stretch, fold it over. Whew, a little sticky. Stretch. It's funny that honey that we added actually seemed to kind of add to the perception of hydration in this dough. So after that stretch and fold, we're just going to let it sit for another 30 minutes, and then we'll do the lamination, and that's when we're going to add all the chocolate chips. So it is now time for the lamination process. You can see we're getting nice and jiggly there. So I'm just going to spray down the table with my filtered water. Have that ready. I'm going to moisten my hands here with the same, so that it is not going to stick to me as badly. This sticky dough. Get it out. Ooh, that came out really nice. So a little extra water here. And just beginning the lamination. So stretching it out. Ooh, yeah, this is definitely a bit firmer than my usual dough. I'm curious to see how far I'll actually get it to stretch. I have to spin it like pizza dough. This is definitely less extensible, but I think that's just that cocoa powder and then the sugar and stuff messing with it. Well, it's not too bad, actually. Sweet. Stretch it out just a little bit more here. And then it is chocolate chip time. So I've got here I have 250 grams of chocolate chips. So this is 25%. I'm not sure if this is going to be enough. I definitely want this to be super chocolatey, or rather I should say my wife wants this to be super chocolatey. So I'm going to make sure that that happens. So get a bunch of chocolate chips. Yeah, I'm probably going to end up needing more. Over here, and the first fold of lamination is for this first third or so. So I'm just going to pick it up, fold it over, give a little pat down. I'll get these. I probably could have laid these ones instead of on this lower layer here. I could have put them up on this one here, but live and learn. Okay, so now we'll fold up over top here. And some more here. And string them across here. Oh man. Sugar and chocolate overload, I think. I hope this is as good as I'm anticipating it being. Okay, let's pat that down. I go for the first third. And you know what? I am going to get some more chips. I just want to kind of measure them out here really quickly just so that I know how many I've added to it. So let's go for maybe another 50. There we go. Oh, lost a couple of chips. Okay, and now the final fold, just like that. I'm going to take some of these chips, just put them on the outside here. So there are going to be some coil folds and whatnot coming up. So this will actually then wind up getting worked into this dough. I'm going to put this stuff on the bottom. Take it and set it there into the bowl. Give it a final little pat down here just to kind of work out any bubbles that have gotten trapped as part of that folding process. And let it sit for 30 minutes. So after 30 minutes has passed, I'm going to do this first coil fold. Curious to see how this, oh, you can just feel the chips inside of there. That's awesome. Set that down. Yeah, it's still a little stickier than I'm used to. This also seems a little less likely to want to coil over. Okay, well, not bad. We'll see if with the next one it coils a little bit more. If not, we might even just call that the last one and then get into our shaping, but we'll see what that's like in 30 minutes. Alrighty, so I did the second coil fold. It was still fairly stiff. I'm going to attempt a third, but if it's feeling the same, I'm just going to actually shift gears on the fly and move into dividing and pre-shaping. So let's just kind of take a peek here. That kind of fold underneath. Oh, actually that's not too bad. Okay, so I am going to do this as a third foil fold and let it sit for another 30 minutes, and then we'll divide and pre-shape. Well, the time has come to divide and pre-shape this sourdough. So I'm just going to let it come out here. And, oh man, look at that, all those chocolate chips. Beautiful. Okay, so fortunately this came out fairly uniformly. So I'm just going to do my best to chop her down the middle. This always feels like the hardest part. Seems like I never do it right. Flour here. I'm just going to fold up like so. Tuck everything underneath. Try not to handle it too much at this point. But just like that. Set it over here. This one, do something similar. Just a little fold over. Just steal a little flour here. For a rough shaping. I have a feeling these chocolate chips are really going to help the whole shape as it is. Okay, and now I shall cover and let sit for probably 20 minutes, and then we will do final shaping. All right, after half an hour, these are ready to go in the baskets for their overnight proof. So I'm just going to tuck it in here. I'm just going to be super gentle with these shapings. I'm not trying to rough them up too much. A little flouring here, and just into the proofing baskets like so. I'm gonna bag these up, and then tomorrow morning we will bake. It is bake day. So I've got both of the chocolate sourdoughs here, ready to go. They're looking awesome. I cannot wait to see what they're gonna look like coming out of the oven. So I'm just going to get them ready. Got my lamb. I'm going to do one with rice flour as usual, and then I'm also going to sprinkle one with some icing sugar. I don't know how that's going to go, so I don't want to do them both with that icing sugar just in case it burns a little bit or whatever. So anyway, it is time. Ooh, I don't really need to sprinkle this one with much. Let's give it a little light dose. You can feel slicing through the chips. Ooh, there we go. All right, let's get this one in here. So, rice flour on the left. Icing sugar on the right. Yeah, with these chips in here, I have to go slower with the lamb. Roadblocks in there. All right, and get the second one in. Got my lids on. The oven's currently at 500. I'm just going to dial that down to 450 here. Now that I've got these lidded and baking, I'll check on them. I'm actually going to give them 35 minutes with the lids on. After 35 minutes, I'm going to pop these off. Oh, actually that's not bad at all. I thought that perhaps the chocolate chips might impact that oven spraying. Well, maybe a little bit on this one. But yeah, cool. All right, we'll let this go and then check on it in another half hour. Okay, let's take a peek. Woo, a little bit of smoke. Oh, check out that chocolate. Oh my goodness. Oh, these are some heavy loads. All that extra weight from the chocolate and the sugar and the honey and all that. Amazing. Alrighty. Okay, I'm just going to let these things cool down now for a couple of hours, and then we will crack into one and see what it looks like. Well, this is the moment of truth. I'm going to cut into this. We've had a couple hours to settle. So let's see. Oh man, take a look at that. Oh, it smells gorgeous. Oh yeah, so it's got all this chocolate. The chocolate is actually still a little melty in there. It's fantastic. I gotta cut an actual slice of this here. This doesn't have quite as open of a crumb as my normal bread, but that was sort of to be expected. And also, that's going to help because it just kind of helps lock everything into the bread here. There's not big holes where that stuff can just fall out. So let's take a taste. Soft and chewy, definitely chocolatey. You got those little snaps of the chocolate chips in there just to really sweeten it up. That is beautiful. Absolutely a fantastic bread. I hope my wife will love it. Happy birthday, honey. Keep her at 11.